name is Maria Jolicoeur. Welcome to my show. Let's talk about history. Memorial Day is the federal holiday, and I'm here with my guest, Norwich's historian, Dale Plummer, and we're going to talk about Memorial Day. Hello, Dale. Nice to see you.
Hi, Maria.
Yeah. Um, so this year, Memorial Day is being observed on Monday, May 30th. And Dale, I'd like to ask you a few questions about Memorial Day. When did Memorial Day become a federal holiday?
Well, Memorial Day became a federal holiday in 1971. Um, it was authorized in 1968 to start in 1971. And of course, what it did was to basically make a federal holiday out of a holiday that was observed in many states, around the country and in individual localities. So it was just making it a federal holiday what had been more of a state and local holiday.
Okay. So do you know how long Memorial Day was a state and local holiday?
Well, the problem with it is that there are many different communities that claim to have had the first Memorial Day celebration um, or commemoration. So it's very hard to say, but it really, primarily, it happened in a number of areas after the Civil War. In some cases, even towards the end of the Civil War. Um, one thing that is cited is after Charleston was liberated by Union troops, local Black residents of Charleston, who many of whom had been enslaved, gathered to honor and dedicate a cemetery for Union prisoners of war who had died in Charleston. Um, and that is regarded by some as being the first real Memorial Day. 1868, a U.S. General Logan, James Logan, uh, declared it Decoration Day, and that would be a time to decorate the graves of soldiers. Also, in the South, many Confederate or former Confederates decorated graves, but not on the 30th of May. The times varied from place to place. So it comes out of a lot of local traditions.
Okay. Yeah. I did read where there was a group of women who commem memorialize to memorial for a memorial they went about and decorated the flags with wreaths, etc. Right after the Civil War. That must be what you're talking about,
Yes, that's
right?
right. Exactly.
Civil
Exactly. This was a common practice in many places, both in the South and the North. Memorial Day,
War.
of course, originally celebrated or commemorated the Civil War dead and those who had died on the Union side in the Civil War. Um, and it really continued. May 30th was the date of the northern holidays for the most part. Um, Southerners had different dates for their Decoration Day or Memorial Day. So it varied a lot. The thing that the 1971 federalization of the holiday did was to, make it consistent throughout the entire country. And of course, the other thing is that, remember in the Civil War, there were millions of men under arms. In the war in the North became members of, many of them became members of the Grand Army of the Republic. In fact, the local chapter, the Sedgwick Post, was um, located right here in the Buckingham House where I am now. Uh, and so that remained really until the 20th century, primarily a time to commemorate the Civil War dead, the Union Civil War dead. But as the Civil War veterans began to die off around the turn of the century and into the teens and the 20s and so forth, and America had become involved in World War I and then World War II, by 1971, when the federal holiday was created, it was created to memorialize all those who died in our country's wars, from the beginning. So, from the revolution up to the present.
Okay, thank you for that. I'd like to know when and why were poppies first used for Memorial Day?
Poppies came into use after World War I, and the primary reason was, poppies grew in the fields of France around the front where all the fighting took place, and so many died, so many millions died. Um, so poppies became charged with that association with certainly a horrific war, probably the worst war, in human history to that point. Um, and a Canadian poet actually wrote, the famous poem "In Flanders Fields, the poppies grow among the crosses row on row." So that reinforced the use of the poppy, and the American Legion, which was started immediately after World War I by veterans of the American Expeditionary Force. The American Legion used red poppies as a symbol and also to raise money. I'm sure you, like I, have donated $1 to receive a small, I think it's a paper red poppy, but nonetheless, it's still um, uh, in honor of our war dead. The white poppy is also used to commemorate all those who die in war. Um, and the use of that started after World War I by the peace movement in Britain. But it's now widely regarded as being completely acceptable to use either white, red, or both poppies.
Mm-hmm. All right, so do you know of any ceremonies that are going to be coming up for Memorial Day in the Norwich area or the surrounding areas?
Oh yes, there's a big. I can't speak for the surrounding areas, but yes, there'll be a Memorial Day ceremony on the Chelsea Parade. It should be a fairly large one this year. I think with COVID having not gone away completely, but certainly have been substantially reduced. I think uh, we'll have a bigger turnout this year.
Do you know what time that starts? Is that on Monday?
It is on
Memorial.
Monday. I believe it's at 11 a.m. You know, you can check the newspapers or the Facebook and so forth, but I'm pretty sure it's 11 a.m. However,
Oh,
I would definitely check that out.
okay. What about a parade? Is there going to be a parade in Norwich this year?
I believe they are planning on a parade at um, yeah, I'm quite sure they. Well, wait a minute. Maybe they. I have to check. I'm sorry. Uh, I've
Everybody
been
looking
making.
at the paper for a
Yes,
date on the parade in Norwich for Memorial Day.
right.
Okay. Alrighty. So, beaches and state parks are going to be open on Memorial Day. Some beaches, like some in New York, they're going to be open May 28th. In Connecticut, May 30, Memorial Day, Monday, May 30th. In state parks also. So, were you telling me, Dale, that that your great grandfather was in World War One, or?
Oh, no, no, no. My great grandfather was in the Civil War, William Henry Plummer, and
Or
he was with I think it was the 8th New Hampshire. You've seen the movie Glory
yes,
about
I so yeah, yeah.
54 Massachusetts. Well, when they attacked Battery Wagner outside of Charleston, they are left to go first, followed by I think it's the 7th Connecticut Regiment, and then other regiments beyond. Well, my grandfather's regiment would have been um, uh, one of the later ones. They never made it into the fort. The 54th and the Connecticut men took the brunt of the fighting and the losses. So I'm not sure whether he participated in that or not. But we do have a story in the family that in one of the battles around Charleston, he loaded his musket 7 times and forgot to fire it, which was
Okay.
a common problem with soldiers in the excitement of battle. They would sometimes forget to, uh, fire their
And
weapon.
he didn't get hurt, even
No,
though he
no.
did.
Fortunately, I guess he discovered this when he was cleaning it after the battle. Um, but he was a member of the Grand Army of the Republic, like so many veterans. The Grand Army of the Republic was, a pretty powerful group in this country after the Civil War. Generally, they supported Republican candidates, um, which certainly helped the Republican Party. Um, and the Grand Army of the Republic really were the ones, I think, that were responsible for the local Memorial Day celebrations or commemorations. They they would organize to decorate the graves, put up flags. They later develop a little cast iron holder for flags. Um, and they established procedures for uh, marking the day. Uh, so it's really the Grand Army of the Republic that did much of the work to establish Memorial Day as a national holiday before it became a national holiday. But as those men died off, and as you had new veterans from the First and Second World War and later Korea, it became clear that no longer could you simply commemorate the Civil War dead. Numerous though they were, I mean, the official estimates are 619,000 dead, more than in almost every other war we've ever fought. So it's a huge, huge loss. But I think we had over 400,000 in World War II, around 100,000 in World War One. The Civil War still, though, looms large. And the irony of it is that it looks like that official estimate of 619,000 dead is wrong. They have actually done work with the census records and so forth, and they've discovered that there are a lot of missing people between the census of 1860 and 1870. The current
Mhm.
estimate, best guess, is about 750,000 dead in the Civil War. I mean, a
Gosh.
huge, huge quantity of people.
Yeah. No, there was a at Chelsea Green at the memorial. There was a service in honor of the Vietnam veterans at the Vietnam Memorial Wall. Is that
Yeah.
something new there at Chelsea Green, the Vietnam Memorial Wall?
It's been there for a while, actually. The POWMIA one, I think, is the latest one. Or no, wait, there's one to the uh, um, 9/11 too, I believe. We have a whole series now of
Other
monuments to our
of 90,
wars of Chelsea Parade, starting with the
there's
Civil War, World War One, World War Two, Korea, Vietnam, and the more recent conflicts.
there's one in honor of 9/11 also at the Chelsea Green.
I believe there is, or of the the conflict after that. It was just put in a few years ago, and I'm
Gee.
not I'm not really good on the recent stuff. I'm better on the old, Civil War, World War One.
Uh-huh.
Right now, as you know, I've been working on. Um, I'm in charge of a committee that's raising money to restore the howitzer, World War One howitzer that used to stand at the end of Chelsea Parade. So that's been my primary focus for the last um, 4 years.
So if anyone wants to get information regarding that, how can they contact you?
Well, they can contact me at my email address, norwichcityhistorian@gmail.com. That's probably the best way. We're going to have some exciting events coming up that kind of bracket Memorial Day, actually. We're going to have Aaron Toole, a Marine veteran who's a potter, will be coming here and spending 5 days creating cups, which he does to get people to talk about war and the problems of war. And he'll be at the Veterans Rally Point May 20th, 21st, 22nd from 9 to 5, and then at Three Rivers Community College on the 23rd and 24th. Should be very exciting. He does really very good work. And his idea is that if you want to have a conversation with someone, doing it over a cup, say, of coffee or hot chocolate or whatever, is a great way to do that. But
Mhm.
we're really looking forward to that.
Okay.
And then on the 25th, day after that, we're having a golf tournament at the Norwich Golf Course, again, to raise money for the restoration of our World War One trophy. And then on the 4th of June, after Memorial Day, we're going to have World War One reenactors. They will be cooking donuts on a field kitchen. Those will be available. And we are having a Sergeant Stubby contest. Uh, Sergeant Sergeant Stubby was a hero dog in World War One, a little street
Okay.
mutt that was
Uh-huh.
adopted by one of the soldiers, went to France, was
What is the
decorated.
contest?
What?
What is the contest? What dog looks
Oh,
most chubby?
most like Sergeant Stubby, yes.
Sergeant Stubby.
I wish I had
Okay.
a photograph of him, but if you Google Stubby, you'll see many photographs of him. He was a very beloved dog.
Mm-hmm.
Saved lives by alerting people about gas attacks and so forth. Um,
Uh,
Wounded, actually, in action. Um, Remarkable.
mhm. What war was that again? That
World War One. We have World War One reenactors who represent the 26th Division, the Yankee Division. The Yankee Division was made up of New Englanders from all the New England states.
mhm.
And the Connecticut troops were generally in the 102nd Regiment. They were nationalized National Guard troops. And their first really serious battle was in April of 1918 at Seicheprey, France. And there was just a commemorative event in Scotland at the Waldo homestead, honoring those who fell at Seicheprey.
Okay.
Very moving.
Where are you planning on moving the cannon to on at Chelsea Green?
Well, the problem is its original location is already taken up by the all the memorials that have been added since it was there. We're probably looking at another location and putting a structure around it, a small structure around it, to preserve it and prevent it from deteriorating. Because once we spend thousands of dollars in restoring it, it doesn't make sense to let it sit out in the weather and go bad again.
Okay. All right. So good luck with your efforts on restoration of the cannon, the
Yes,
Wurlitzer.
howitzer.
Right.
Yeah.
Pulitzer, right? There's going to be a lot going on Memorial Day and on that weekend. So I hope everyone enjoys Memorial Day weekend and stay safe and well. And thank you for watching my show. Thank you, Dale, for joining me today and informing us of a lot of history about Memorial Day. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Maria.
Yeah.